Hi, so welcome back to my channel. This is going to be 13 tips for the Berlin Marathon coming up in just 7 days. It's Sunday today. So tip number one, nothing new on race day. I'm sure you've heard this before, but I also mean race week. You know, people come to Berlin or a major marathon and maybe start trying something new a day or two before, not just race day itself. So if you're out to a new restaurant or a strange restaurant to you, you try something new, not the end of the world. But if you've got a sensitive stomach or a sensitive gut, that might come back to haunt you even a day or two or three later. So when we say nothing new, it doesn't just mean everything you're wearing. So your hat, your t-shirt, your shorts, your underwear, your socks, your trainers, whatever, your hydration belt, whatever you're wearing, make sure it's something you've been training in for weeks and weeks so you don't get any chafing or anything that's uncomfortable. Of course, including food, days leading up to the race, as well as the Expo. Don't try anything new at the Expo. If you want to take something, take it with you and try it after the race, okay? And that includes the start line. I've seen people handing stuff to other people on the start line that they've never tried before. They've even said, oh, I've never had that, and they try it. Who knows how that's affected them through the race. So nothing new, tip one. Tip two, at the Expo, make sure you take your passport or some kind of government ID, photo ID. Use that to pick up your bib, take your QR code on your phone. Make sure you get your wristband, which will be put onto your wrist for you, as well as your bib when you collect it. It's in hall 3, so make your way through hall 1 and hall 2. It's back at hall 3. Get your wristband, get your bib, which is this one here. They're quite big, so make sure you've got at least 4 safety pins. I would recommend 6. Tip number 3, study the map. Make sure you know where all the aid stations are. Make sure you know where the start and finish line is. Follow the blue line. You've got 3 blue dashes, which represents Adidas. That is the shortest route around the whole course. At Berlin, there are 15 aid stations, which if you do the maths is roughly 2.8 kilometers apart. So think about your hydration and nutrition strategy. If every 3 kilometers is great, maybe you don't need a hydration belt, and maybe that'll affect the way your strategy works on the day. So for example, Chicago has 20 aid stations, so that's every 2 kilometers. So that may change the way you think about it. Tip number 4, stay hydrated. Now, I tend to drink about 2 liters a day, a couple of 1.5, 2 of these a day with the cyst gels inside them, 3 or 4 days out. So I start loading up with water and hydration a few days early, especially if you're flying, you dehydrate anyway, but not just water, because you might end up with hypernatremia, but stick the cyst gels or whatever hydration tablets you have for electrolytes in the water. That way you don't have to worry about overhydrating the night before or the morning of. Tip number 5, eat well. 0 alcohol. Try and not carb load just the day before. Use the carb loading 3 or 4 days out. Sweet potatoes, pasta, rice. The good thing about marathons is you can eat kind of junk carbs, which is white bread, rice, pasta, that kind of stuff, which are easily digestible. Your body needs a lot of carbs for the whole race. Around 90 minutes in, your glycogen levels have depleted what's in your muscles as well as what's in your liver. I tend to use Marathon drink mix as well as the nutrition for the race. This stuff is great. It has 80 grams per mix. And you'll have 1 or 2 the night before and then 1 on the morning of. That will really help. The last meal, I heard lots of people go up and carb load the night before. I wouldn't. I've done 13, 14, I need to look it up, marathons. I wouldn't necessarily go out at 7, 8, 9 p.m. and carb load. You'll just feel really lethargic and slow the next morning. For me, I eat my last big meal around 3 or 4 p.m. on the day before, so it has time to process, and then the next morning, you know, if you get to go to the loo, it's nice and early and you can get rid of all of that. So that works really well. Carb load 3 or 4 days before the race, and certainly don't leave it too late to eat on the night before the race. Number 6, be early. That's generic term. So be early for everything. Be early to the Expo if you can. If you can't make it till Saturday, that's fine. Try and get there early. There might be some queues, but at least you're there and out early in the morning. If you can be there for Thursday, go early. It only opens at 11 a.m. on the Thursday. Get there, get to your big bib collection. Remember your passport and QR code. Be there early. Get your bib collection early. Then, of course, you can roam around and have a look at the merchandise. If you're some kind of, merchandise magpie, that's a perfect place for you in Hall 1 and 2. Get to bed early. Wake up early. Get to the start line early. Lots of stuff has to be early, just so you reduce your stress levels and anxiety. Number 7, flat lay. Lay all your stuff out the night before. That's from everything. Your hat, your top, underwear, shorts, socks, shoes, hydration belt, whatever you plan to wear or use on the day, lay it out flat. Why? Because then not only is it ready, but it gives you peace of mind, and you probably will sleep a little bit easier, knowing full well that all I have to do in the morning is put stuff on. So that's your flat lay. Tip number 8, get to the portaloos early on the day. The portaloos can get insanely busy. I don't think there's enough when you compare it to places like Chicago, for example, or even London. But Berlin is such a big start line, 50,000 runners, maybe more, and I don't think there are enough for portaloos. The Tiergarten is right there. You'll see lots of people running off into the trees and in the bushes and spending a penny or other stuff. So watch your step. Don't be shocked if you see people crouching down. There's going to be a lot of that, male and female. So get to the portaloos early. If you've got nothing else to do, once you're out of the portaloo, join the queue again. Number 9, go to the start line. Go to the start line a day or two before you get to the race day. For me, it just gives me peace of mind. So I need to take this line on the S-Bahn or the U-Bahn, or I need to take this road, whether you're using an electric bike or the underground or a train or a bus or an Uber. At least then you physically have done it. And again, on race morning, not only have you got the flat lay sorted, so you just put whatever you're wearing on, you also know the route straight to the start line. So it just reduces the stress levels. So that's the start line. Get to the start line physically, so you know the distance and the time it takes from your hotel or wherever you're coming from. Number 10 is Vaseline. So here's the British version of Vaseline. Here's one I picked up in Spain. There's another version of Vaseline. Vaseline's really useful now. If it's dry, it doesn't really matter. But it was a tip that's given to me on the London Marathon 23, which was very wet. And a chap said, just smother your feet in this stuff. Now, remember, that was the first new thing for me on marathon day. And I trusted the chap, and it worked extremely well. Now, in the dry, as I say, it doesn't matter. In the wet, it does matter. It protects your feet from getting wet, and you don't get the friction. And from that day onwards, I've never had a problem running in the wet or damp conditions or humid conditions, because it simply protects your feet. And I've never had a blister, fingers crossed. So Vaseline is a good one to have. It's a tip that was given to me. If you think you're going to struggle with blisters, then get some Vaseline, particularly in the wet weather, then get some Vaseline on there. As far as the feet are concerned, still, yes, we're 7 days out. I don't know if you can see that. Those are nail clippers. Clip your toenails. Clip them as short as you can without causing yourself a cut or an injury, because you'll need time to heal, and you don't want to be running with bleeding toenails before the race. So clip them short, but not too short, and then you'll be ready, because you don't want those sticking into your trainers. That will cause a problem later and potentially cause blisters as well. So number 11, check the weather. Now, you can't change the weather, we know that, but what it does do is put you in the right mindset. If you know it's going to be warm and humid, then you can adjust your race strategy accordingly. Do I need more water? Do I need more salt tabs? So for me, I'm using the precision hydration electrode tabs. If you know it's going to cause you GI issues for whatever, then maybe you want to take some Imodium. The other thing I would say about checking the weather and going to the portaloos is, have some wet wipes or tissues with you in case you need them on the course. If you don't, you can always throw them in one of the wheelie bins, but at least have them handy, as it were. So that's the weather. The main driver with that is there are no surprises for you on the morning of. If it's tipping with rain, you already expected it, so it's not a shock. And if it's hot and dry or humid, you already expected that as well, so it's not a shock. Tip number 12, this is a bonus. I would say just enjoy the day. There's a lot going on, 50,000 plus runners. Read the signs, high five the children, go under the water shower. If it's a hot day, they'll have fire engines spraying water. Go under that to cool off. Enjoy the music. There's lots of pop-up DJs on junctions and outside houses, live bands. It's a really party atmosphere, so enjoy it. And finally, last tip, number 13, is as you approach Brandenburg gates, it is not the finish line. I'm sure you've heard this all before. So keep running. You've got about 400 or 500 meters before you get to the finish. When you approach the blue carpets, that's the finish line. Look up, get a pose or two to the photographers. They're usually up on the gantry or down by the right-hand side. And then you've finished. When you've finished, you will get your medal and your goodie bag full of drinks and protein bars and whatnot. I really look forward to seeing you there. If you are there, say hello. If I don't, have a fantastic marathon. You're going to thoroughly enjoy it. It's a fantastic party atmosphere, especially at the start. Good luck. Remember the tips, and I really hope you do well. Take care. Bye for now.